A lot of people today have breakfast like a pauper, lunch like a pauper, and dinner is the king and the queen together. And then they lie down at night and gravity presses against that little cardiac sphincter, weakening it. And that little muscle, well, that little sphincter is a muscle. And when it's relaxed, it's closed. And when it tightens, it opens. So stress when all the muscles tighten can open it. Hello, I'm Barbara O'Neill. Today I want to address a growing concern, the dangers of overeating and eating all day. While it may seem harmless to snack throughout the day, this habit disrupts your body's natural rhythms, overworks your digestive system, and weakens your immunity. Our bodies are designed to thrive with periods of rest between meals, allowing for proper digestion and cellular repair. Join me as we uncover how constant eating impacts your health and explore simple, effective ways to restore balance and strengthen your immune system. Before we begin, I'm curious about you. Where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments and feel free to ask any questions you might have. When you get into the stomach, you will discover that the stomach can only take so much food. You overload it, it just actually can't break it all down effectively. We also have say over, this is the fourth one, how often it goes in. Is it every half hour? Is it every 2 hours? Or is it just at meal times? Do you know, it amazes me when I was little, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and I said to Mum, I'm hungry. What were we told in the 60s, 50s? Wait for dinner. Is that right? What great advice. Because if you eat at 5, you're not going to be very hungry for tea at 6. It didn't make any sense. And when children say they're starving, they're usually bored. Is that right? And we also have say over, the fifth one, is the environment of entry. Is it a stressful environment or is it a peaceful environment? Because when we're anxious, it actually inhibits the digestive enzyme release for the stomach. Then we swallow. Swallowing is an amazing thing. It's a little flap that closes our trachea and opens our esophagus. And when that swallowing happens, it's a muscular action. It causes the esophagus to start contracting, moving the food down, 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 through a little double-layered valve right here called the cardiac sphincter. It's called the cardiac sphincter because of its nearness to the big cardiac muscle just on the left, which is our heart. And we find people that have problems there, it's called GERD, reflux, heartburn. And if a person goes to the prince, the authority in the field of health, and says, I've got heartburn, what are they usually given? Antacids. Well, that doesn't make any sense because the stomach should be acid. To give antacid when someone's got acid coming up here, that's like shooting the cow because it got into the vegetable garden. Just shut the gate. If you shut the gate, the cow won't get in and eat your veggies. Is that right? Don't shoot the cow. Don't shoot the acid. We need the acid to digest our food. Just shut the gate. Well, why is the gate open? Why is that cardiac sphincter not strong? God did a good job in making a double-layered valve to stop that acid coming up. Well, it must be weak. And because it's a muscle, if the muscle is weak, it's not strong enough to hold it. Why would the muscle be weak? Well, this muscle sits right here in the middle of our diaphragm. And our diaphragm is part of what's called our abdominal muscles. And if those muscles are weak, that muscle will be weak. And so the best thing you can do, one of the best things you can do for your cardiac sphincter is strengthen your core. Have you done your push-ups today? Sorry? Push-ups are a great way to strengthen that core. If you can't do them, you can do ladies. If you can't do ladies, you can do them on the wall or on the bench. And Pilates type exercises are a great way to strengthen the core. One lady said, my core's long gone. Well, if it was, you'd be standing like this. because it's our core muscles that cause us to stand upright. One of the best things you can do for your back too is strengthen your core. And muscle knows no age. Whether you're 9 or 90, you can have strong muscles. So that's one point to help with reflux, is strengthen your core muscles. Many people get reflux because they have breakfast like a pauper, lunch like a pauper, and supper is the king and the queen together. We're such a fast society that many people are eating their largest meal at the end of the day, sit down in the easy chair, fall asleep, lie down, and then gravity causes that meal to push up against the cardiac muscle. It's not the odd day you might have dinner with friends. It's what you do day after day after day that can do it. Also, drinking with the meals.
Many people underestimate the importance of eating at regular intervals and avoiding continuous grazing throughout the day. Consistently snacking disrupts the natural rhythm of digestion, overburdening the stomach and impairing its ability to efficiently break down food. This habit often leads to incomplete digestion and absorption of nutrients, weakening the body's defences. Allowing time between meals enables the stomach to empty fully, facilitating a rest period for the digestive system. Additionally, drinking water with meals in large quantities can dilute digestive enzymes, reducing their effectiveness. Instead, staying hydrated between meals is more beneficial. It's crucial to listen to hunger cues and avoid emotional or boredom-driven eating, which can lead to overeating and subsequent strain on the body's immune response. These small intentional changes can significantly enhance overall health and vitality.
If someone says, I've got an overacid stomach, my question is, how do you know? Oh, I can feel it burning. Oh, the problem's not the acid, the problem might be you're dehydrated and you haven't got enough mucus, because mucus is 99% water. I know it's acid because it keeps coming up here. Well, the problem's not the acid. The problem is this little gate here. You see that little gate called the cardiac sphincter, it should be closed, and if it's closed, no acid will come up. So why would acid come up? Because that little gate is weak. Why would it be weak? A lot of people today have breakfast like a pauper, lunch like a pauper, and dinner is the king and the queen together. And then they lie down at night and gravity presses against that little cardiac sphincter, weakening it. And that little muscle, well, that little sphincter is a muscle, and when it's relaxed, it's closed. And when it tightens, it opens. So stress when all the muscles tighten can open it. So two things will heal reflux or heartburn. One is eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a queen, and dinner like a pauper, or you say supper. And take magnesium 3 times a day. Is it that simple? It is. Isn't that good news? And if someone takes antacid to stop the acid going up, what's my next question? What's going to break the protein down now? Huh? And you know what long-term low antacids they're finding is producing now? Colon cancer. Because the protein's not getting broken down, partially digested protein is reaching the large colon, and then the body says, what are you doing here? Quick, we have to create a lot of bacteria to deal with that, and that excess bacteria can start eating down the colon wall. And if someone says to me, I've been on antacids for 25 years, is it working? 25 years? Now, I believe that in a well-hydrated, well-slept, well-exercised, well-mineralized body, that body copes with stress. But when a person's dehydrated, they haven't slept well, they're not eating nourishing food, they're not handling stress. We all have stress. And I don't think stress causes a problem, but it can be the final thing on a whole lot of other little things that can cause the scales to tip. So how do you heal reflux? Have a breakfast like a king, lunch like a queen, and tea like a pauper. What's tea like a pauper? Tea like a pauper would be a bowl of soup, Or tea like a pauper might be a banana, or it might be an avocado. And if someone's quite hungry because they didn't get a good lunch, they might have 2 bowls of soup, or they might have a bowl of steamed vegetables with a little olive oil and Celtic salt. Those things digest quite easily. Or another evening meal that is light is a smoothie. A smoothie blended up can be digested quite quickly. So the other thing that you can do to help reflux is take magnesium. Now, magnesium is a muscle relaxant. So magnesium will relax that cardiac sphincter so that it will close.
Now, when it comes to overeating, one major issue is how it impacts the stomach's ability to produce and utilise digestive enzymes. When the stomach is overloaded, these enzymes cannot work as efficiently, leading to undigested food sitting in the stomach longer than it should. This fermentation process can create gas and bloating, further straining the digestive tract. Overeating also taxes the liver and pancreas, as they must produce additional bile and insulin to manage the excess intake. Additionally, consuming highly processed or sugary foods in large quantities can spike blood sugar levels, triggering an inflammatory response that weakens immunity over time. To counter this, it's vital to adopt a balanced approach, smaller portions, mindful chewing, and eating meals in a calm environment. These habits not only improve digestion, but also preserve the strength of your immune system.
I've met many people with not enough hydrochloric acid. How do you know if you haven't got enough hydrochloric acid? It's 4 hours after the meal and you feel like you've just eaten it. Because if you had strong hydrochloric acid, it would digest the meal very, very quickly. And so because it's not getting digested efficiently and effectively, it can start to ferment, so that can cause bloating. What is also released from the parietal glands is pepsinogen. And pepsinogen and hydrochloric acid, they unite. And they unite to release pepsin. And pepsin is the enzyme that breaks down protein. This union together will only happen in an acid environment. And pepsin will only act in an acid environment. And that's why for the breaking down of our protein, an acid stomach is important. When we wake up in the morning, it's not acid. It's only released when we smell, see, think food and start tasting food, then it's released. I think we're all familiar with Pavlov's dog, that experiment where just even the thought started to release those enzymes. So what would reduce the hydrochloric acid? What would reduce these enzymes? If someone's anxious or stressed out, that blocks the release of hydrochloric acid. Drinking with the meals. You see, digestion is a chemical process, and water dilutes the chemicals. I'm sure we all remember it from science experiments in school. You pour water on acid, you dilute the acid. So the hydrochloric acid and the pepsinogen are very important. What's also important is not eating between meals. And there have been many experiments done to prove this, and they all come to the same conclusion that digestion takes 3.5 to 4 hours. And as you'll discover as we go through our gastrointestinal tract, that most of our nutrients are absorbed in the small intestine, and our nutrients are absorbed halfway down the small intestine. The only thing that's left is the insoluble fibre. So even when our stomach's empty, we're actually still getting nutrients going into the blood, which goes to the cell to feed the cell. Many people that experience a hunger pang 2 hours after the meal, it's not hunger, it's thirst. The body doesn't know the difference between hunger and thirst. So if ever my children said they were hungry between meals, I give them a glass of water. One day my son Peter came to me at 15, he said, "Mum, the water's not doing it anymore." I looked at my clock and I said, great, it's lunchtime. When the water's not doing it anymore, it's usually time to eat food. The body also likes a rest. It likes a rest of about 1 hour. So what does that mean? That equals 5 to 6 hours between meals. So what people have always told, what the princes have always told people, especially diabetics, what have diabetics been told? Eat every 2 hours? Well, they've changed their minds. It's now time-restricted eating. Have a look at time-restricted eating. Time-restricted eating is what is hailed as the most popular way of eating at the moment. It came out of the 5-2 diet, came out of the intermittent fasting. It's also called the 18-6 diet. It's eating twice in a 24-hour period, 6 hours apart. So that's an 18-hour fast. Now, we've been doing this at our health retreat for the last 25 years. And this theory I got out of that little book, The Ministry of Healing. She says, ideally eat 2 meals a day, but for some people, especially if people have breakfast very early and lunch early, they might need an evening meal. If I've learned anything in my many years on the planet, it's not to be absolute.
And here's another crucial point about overeating. It disrupts the natural rhythm of our digestive system, especially when we eat frequently throughout the day. Our gut needs time to rest and repair, and constant grazing deprives it of that opportunity. This not only exhausts the stomach and intestines, but can also weaken the mucosal lining, making it more susceptible to infections. Moreover, the gut houses a significant portion of our immune system. When we overwhelm it with excess food, particularly processed or fatty meals, it diverts energy away from immune function to focus on digestion. This creates an opening for pathogens to thrive. To avoid this, practice intermittent fasting or stick to structured meal times, allowing your digestive system to complete its work. Remember, a healthy gut fosters a robust immune system, and moderation is the cornerstone of health.
I raised all my children like this. I homeschooled my children, so it was very easy. We had breakfast about 7:30, and then we had lunch at 2. And then what was great with that is all schooling was done by 2 o'clock. The kids very much like that. Now, to be able to do that, and we'll explore this a little bit more detail tomorrow when we look at diabetes, it's important to eat the 3 essential food groups. What are the 3 essential food groups? Fibre. Fibre is an essential nutrient because, as you will see after the break when we go to the colon, that fibre is important to stimulate peristalsis, and that fibre is important to sweep the colon, because there's all these little folds in the colon, as you'll see in my last drawing. Our stomach is most prepared for digestion after a good night's sleep, and it has not had a good night's sleep if it's had to work all night. Why would it have to work all night? Because the person had their supper like the king and the queen together and then went to sleep, and the poor old stomach must plod along. It can't stop, because if it stops, the food starts to ferment, and if the person has had meat, it would really start to putrefy. And then main poisoning can happen and the person can die. So the stomach has to keep working all night long. I'm against animal abuse, I'm against child abuse, and I'm against stomach abuse. And many people abuse their stomachs not even knowing. That's like kicking the dog and not thinking that it's hurting the dog. Many people are sick through ignorance. That's why I believe the only hope of better things is educating people in the right principles of how the stomach works. When you know how the stomach works, then you know how to treat it. So back to the...
So as we wrap up, remember that your health is a reflection of how well you care for your body. Overeating and constant snacking overburden your digestive system and weaken immunity, robbing your body of the energy it needs for repair and protection. By eating mindfully and sticking to set meal times, you can empower your digestion and strengthen your natural defenses. Small, consistent changes can lead to remarkable improvements in vitality and well-being. If you found this information helpful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to stay updated with more tips for a healthier life. Let's work together to build a stronger, healthier future.